Hey guys, it's Baza here, and I'm back with another episode of the great, amazing, beautiful, nice game called Love, Money, and Rock and Roll from the creators of Everlasting Summer. And I'm back with the demo. I was woken up by the telephone. What time was it? And I think let's it cost me some pains to make it to the phone. I think it's good because now we can continue the demo. The demo was a lot longer than I actually thought. I thought it would be a little like an hour or some shit so I could make it in one video, but the video got 2 hours long and I think, okay, I need to fucking end this. Hello. I sounded terribly groggy. Wait. Nickel.
You're a great danger. You need to be extremely careful.
A voice said in Russian. I was still half asleep, so I couldn't understand what was going on. What? Who is this? I
Repeat, be extremely careful. Pay particular attention to what you're doing, who you're talking to, and what you talk about.
The voice sounded unnatural and as though the speaker had pressed a cloth against the receiver. Who is this? What do you want? Was it you who left the note?
You've been warned.
Beeping. Now I was petrified. Should I call the police? And what would I say? An ordinary school kid of no interest to anyone, a note and a telephone call? It all added up to a prank. However, the first thing I did was to lock all the doors and unplug the phone. It could be a prank, but then who was the prankster? Michael wouldn't do it, and Kioske? It wouldn't even cross his mind. And why did all this start just as Catherine returned to Japan? Even if she didn't write the note. I don't know. That's weird. You tell me, bro. You tell me. I'll take some water, bro. That's some good shit, bro. Water in my mouth. I pulled the blanket over my head. I slept, refused to come, but the fear eventually subsided a bit. I told myself that I would try to sort out all of this out tomorrow with a fresher head. Okay. Good. It's always good to get 10 nights of sleep, bro. 10 hours of sleep. The 9th August of August 1987. Okay. I'm ready. I woke up late. The time was already past noon. The house was quiet. Too quiet, really. I had missed school again. Oh well, to hell with it. After all, my life was now in the balance. Or was I being overly dramatic? I walked into the kitchen and stood there in a stupor. My head felt heavy, thoughts jumbled together. I wanted to sleep a little longer, say another 10 hours or so. 10 hours, that's always a good little nap. A glass of cold water helped me bring me back to life. I looked at myself in the mirror. Oddly enough, the black eye was gone. I checked all the doors and windows, all locked securely, the way I had left them the night before. The foyer contained a note from Himitsu. I was worried, blah blah. We'll come by after school more, blah blah blah. Thank you, but no thank you. This must have been the first time in my 18 years alive that I faced a situation like this. The move to Japan at an early age, the challenges of adaptation, the deaths of my parents. All this has been tough, but they seem more like my fate than the result of someone's malicious actions. This time was different. Something was threatening me directly. Someone was warning, cautioning me, sincerely or not. But who could possibly take such an interest in my person? That's when I had an epiphany. It did seem improbable that I personally could attract any notice, but perhaps this about my parents. Did it, after all, immigrate from the USSR and work for the Kobayashi Company? Besides, the voice on the phone yesterday was Russian, altered for sure, but clearly on accent. I didn't know the exact nature of my parents' work, but it could very well have been of a severe sort. A lump formed in my throat. The sort of work one could get killed for? The most frustrating thing was that I knew nothing about it. But who was going to believe me? I had to act fast. I pulled out my dad's old address book and started scanning it for numbers of his co-worker. A few I'd met and some I've heard of. Either way, anything was better than sitting and waiting. Good afternoon, my name is Nikolai Anokhi, and I... No luck with the first dozen numbers. Some people were no longer at their old jobs, others didn't pick up, one person even passed away. I turned the page. There was a number in my father's firm. There was a number written in my father's firm, even hand, and underneath in my father's firm, even hand, and underneath it a name, Ichinose-san. Ichinose. I heard that last name before. Long ringtones, 1, 2. After 10, I was about to hang up when a familiarly elder voice sounded on the other end. Hello. At that point, I remembered the Ichinose-san used to visit up frequently when I was younger. The ever-polite, affable, good-humored old gentleman. He used to bring me candies and ask with interest about school and my hobbies. Then he and Dad would sit together in the garden for long and with the air of importance do a lot of smoking and conversing together. Good afternoon, my name is Nikolai Anokhin, and I...
Oh, Nikolai-kun.
He interrupted.
Long time no see. How are things?
Fine. I gave a short answer. Was I supposed to dump everything at once on him? All that had befallen me in the last few days?
I'm sorry about your parents.
The voice in the receiver turned sad. I vaguely recalled seeing Ichino's-san at the funeral. Thank you. Actually, that's why I called. I mean, no, not literally, of course. For a moment, I remained silent. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Could you please tell me about my father's work? I know he worked as an engineer, but what exactly did he work on?
Did something happen? Why do you suddenly want to know? Now of all time.
To tell the truth, something did happen, but it doesn't matter.
Why not? Can't you tell me?
Yes, of course I could, but it's just... What reasons did I actually have to trust him? Just because he's been over to our house a couple of times and has been kind to me. So, are you going to tell me or not? Is this really some kind of secret?
Not a secret, no, but it's somewhat complicated.
I get that it's complicated. I am no longer a child. I shouted back.
So what happened?
Some people came by and asked questions about my father, about his work. I lied.
Ask about his work, did they?
Ichinose stretched out the words ambiguously.
And what exactly did they ask?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't tell them anything because I don't know anything myself.
And how were they asking?
What do you mean?
Well, what was the tone?
I was absolutely sure that Ichinose knew far more than he was letting on. What's more, Ichinose seemed apprehensive. Should I be worried?
That's for you to know.
He replied coldly. If I knew anything, I wouldn't be calling you, right?
Nikolai, you shouldn't drag yourself into this.
Why? Do you know something? Tell me. This concerns me too, you know.
No, this does not, in fact, concern you. And if you lay low, everything will be alright.
But...
That's all I'm going to say. Don't call here again.
Short ringtones now. Okay, what the fuck did my dad do? What the actual shit was he up to? I don't know. Everything will be alright, she assured Will. On the other hand, I could at least thank him for indirectly confirming my suspicions. This was indeed about my father. I collected my thoughts and tried to remember everything my father had ever told me about his job. An engineer. And what do engineers do? Build stuff, or more accurately, draw up plans. God, that what did a 16-year-old kid care about such miniature something? What mattered to me was that I was receiving my allowance and that all was well at home. I was confident about one thing. My father had not worked in construction as such. Defense? Maybe. Had he worked for the military? But what difference did that make? I still didn't know a thing about his actual work. Unless the whole thing was someone's sick practical joke. The hour hand on the clock moved inexorably towards 3 and I hadn't even eaten breakfast yet. I couldn't pronounce that word and I'm sorry. Sorry. Can you ever forgive me? I hope you can, bro. Himitsu would arrive soon, the note made that clear. Enough already. She wasn't my mother after all. Of course, as I had that thought, I felt sheepish. Regardless, I absolutely had to get some fresh air. I decided to go to my favorite bar for lunch, even if it was the site of yesterday's unfortunate incident. The bell above the door made a pleasant chiming sound as I entered, but none of the handful of patrons present looked my way. Only the bartender gave me a customary smile and waved at me.
Hey Nick, we've seen a lot of you lately. Not that I'm not happy, but after yesterday.
I stopped in front of the bar not knowing what to say. No, my resentment toward him had already passed. After all, people had their own lives and jobs to worry about.
Will it be useful?
No, I've come for lunch.
Got it. And what would you like?
Don't know, give me a steak, I guess.
It shall be done.
The bartender managed to imitate the Japanese way of addressing guests to near perfection, but he twisted it in his own peculiar way, such that he ended up sounding more like an overly gregarious host of a medieval tavern. Okay. I sat down at the tavern and sank into thoughts. Okay. Many thoughts in my head, bro. The steak turned out to be tasty, as expected. The food here was as good as the beer. I was lazily picking up my teeth with a toothpick when the sonorous, pleasant sound of the door chimes were heard again, signaling the arrival of a new visitor. Standing in the doorway was Michael. Here was one person I had never expected to see here. Though why not? He noticed me and came to sit at my table. A split second later, the bartender stood by us and was placing the menu in front of Michael.
A friend of yours, Nikolai?
He asked in Russian, hideously drawing out my name in a French manner. Something like that, yes, a classmate. I replied in Japanese.
What does the sir desire?
I couldn't decide whether I was more irritated or amused by his performance.
Just coffee? Right away.
Oh shit. Michael said that. I don't remember Michael's voice. Chimed the bartender before taking off. Is school over? It is. And you didn't show up.
It is, and you didn't show up.
Yeah, I had some bruises to take care of, shall we say. I had known Michael for 2.5 years. He was from the States, and his parents has also been working in Japan for a while. We never really been particularly close, but his seriousness and uncommonly mature attitude towards life commanded absolute respect. You could say that he was the mirror opposite of Kyosuke.
I take it. You don't want to go into the details.
Not especially.
Some guys at school has been bragging that they thrashed someone yesterday.
And? I snarled back, irritated. It was hard to tell if Michael was hinting at me or just sharing school gossip.
You haven't heard anything about that?
No.
I see.
He kept sipping his coffee, gazing somewhere past me. As uncommunicative as I could be at times, Michael was something else. Did he really feel comfortable at that moment? So what's going on at school?
The usual.
And how's Catherine? The question slipped off my tongue of its own accord. I hadn't even thought about her until that moment. Michael put down his cup and stared at me intently. Don't know. We are not acquainted, remember? Oh, right. Back then, we were in different classes. He kept giving me a weird look. What? Was there something between the two of you? I bet you already heard everything from Kioska. But I am asking you at the moment. Okay, yes, there was something. But that was a long time ago. And now? And now, there's nothing. I see. Are you curious about the two of you are from the same country? Are you curious because the two of you are from the same country? I'm just wondering, why did she enroll at this particular school? I don't know. You'll have to ask her. But now I was sick of this question. Even if typically I was the one posing it to myself. Have you thought that maybe there's a reason behind it? What difference does it make? What I have or haven't thought? You don't know Catherine. Thinking is wasted on her. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. This has nothing to do with you. I just have bigger things to worry about. Michael kept his voice so calm and level the entire time that it was beginning to annoy me. If you didn't actually care, why ask all these questions? Anyway, this is not the most pleasant of subjects. Sorry, I didn't realize that the two of you still... He coughed pointedly. That it was an unpleasant topic for you. Yet he could have guessed. Imagine that. I felt like tossing some bills on the table and walking out. But I had a few friends as it was, while this kind of behavior was, on the whole, typical of Michael. Did anyone ask about me at school? I haven't heard anything. I see. And how are things with you, anyway? Not bad, except that I have no free time at all. I am preparing for college admission. College admission? I stretched the words. And where do you have in mind? Most likely go back to the States. What, tired of this place? I smirked. It's just that higher education is better there. Michael calmly responded. His words touched the nerve. Unlike him, I had little choice. And even if I wanted to, the best I could hope for with my grades was a minimum wage job. Our conversation had not gelled from the get-go. Well, I think I'll be heading out. See you tomorrow at school. See you, he said in the same calm tone. I waved goodbye at the bartender and exited. Had the bar been a courtroom, Michael would have fit the part of the prosecutor to the perfection. Stern, cold, dispassionate, operating only with facts. And what would my chances have been then? Seeing how I flew off the handle at the drop of a hat? Damn, he wouldn't last a second at the courtroom, bro. I wandered aimlessly around the city, passing streets after street and neighborhood after neighborhood. I found myself in a part of town where I'd never been before. A curious thing, Chucky was, of course, much larger than my hometown, but back during my childhood, everything looked huge to me. The apartment, the yard, the kindergarten, building, the store across the street. So my mind could comfortably draw comparisons between that tiny path of childhood space and the multi-million megalopolis, bro. I suppose I had always been an easing crowd of the perpetually rushing strangers. Sometimes I walked in the same direction as they did, as though in lockstep, and other times I marched against the flow. The crowds paid no attention to me, accepting me as one of their own, and thank goodness for that. Perhaps because of this ability of mine. I now noticed that someone was following me. Sure, it's often the case that... What the freak, bro? No, I can't see what it said! I quickened my pace, crossed down red, turned into an alleyway, and walked briskly through it. Two possibilities were emerging. Either I was paranoid or I had managed to shake off my tail. I pretended to be checking out a TV behind the window of an electronics store. At least 5 minutes had passed, but the mysterious pursuer did not show up. It occurred to me that I had finally lost my mind. This called for a seductive or a drink. But I hadn't made it up. I was sure that someone had been following me. Who and why? That was another question. Maybe I relaxed too early. Was it worth checking out? Try to locate the trail. That sounds fun, man. Anyway, it couldn't hurt to try. And if it were a professional shadowing me, then he wouldn't let me bust him so easily twice in a row. I went into a clothing store and as quickly as I could bought a brightly colored windbreaker and a cap after confirming that no one was watching me from the street. If you want to hide something, hide it in plain sight. The principle applied to a crowd as well. I darted into one of the numerous side streets, threw on the jacket and hat, tucked the shopping bag behind a downspout and ran to the next street. I stopped around the corner next to a newsstand, drew the cap low over my face and kept glancing around me. Sure enough, before long, the now familiar figure appeared in the distance. It made sense, he had taken a parallel side street instead of following on my heels. I made a half turn, hunched my shoulders and even crouched slightly to appear shorter. My pursuer was looking around frantically, having clearly lost sight of me. Yet he passed right by the newsstand without paying any attention to the guy in the flashy windbreaker. I followed him. The man was middle-aged, dressed in an unseasonably warm trench coat, dark pants and black shoes. He looked like a typical office worker. He stopped at an intersection, looked around and sighed loudly. I was literally 2 meters behind him. Lost someone? I finally ventured. He turned sharply and gave me a bewildered stare.
No, everything's alright.
Just as quickly, the stranger's face took an impassive expression and he prepared to leave. Why were you following me?
Following you? I wasn't following anyone.
He regained his composure in a blink of an eye.
I was supposed to meet someone here, but it looks like the person is not going to show up.
That someone is Sydney?
Young man.
He looked me up and down and continued coldly.
This is the first time I've seen you.
Then why follow someone you see for the first time?
I have to go.
I didn't try to stop him. That would have been something else. But damn it. Things were going from bad to worse. First the notes, then the calls, the mysterious of my family's past, and now someone trailing me. The one thing that brought relief was that I was still alive. A nervous laugh went off my lips. The schoolgirls passing by exchanged anxious whispers. Enough, it was time to put an end to this. I would call my grandparents the very next day. It was already dark when I found myself in front of a music club, which I occasionally visited to see the local underground bands. If daytime in Tokyo still felt as warm as in the summer evenings, they were getting increasingly colder. I wrapped myself more tightly in my denim jacket and shivered. The house was some distance from the club, so it made sense to go inside to warm up. Inside there was a sizable crowd. Cigarette smoke hung heavy and the air was saturated with spicy aromas of beer, sake, whiskey and goodness knows what else. Frankly, a bender was not on my to-do list for the day, but this was too much to pass by. Okay. Let me see. A lot of flashy lights. That's good, great. I got a beer from the bar and squeezed my hand closer to the stage. Oh shit, I fucked up. The Japanese bands playing this kind of music didn't try to reinvent the wheel, content to blindly copy Western masters. Some managed this better than others. The present performer managed so-so, which is why the majority of the audience were occupied with anything and everything but listening to the music. The rich rockers who couldn't possibly notice this got disheartened entirely towards the end, trying only to avoid making complete fools of themselves. Then again, who was I to judge? I couldn't blame my bass even at their level. The next band was dressed in the 70s style, a sure sign that some old school rock was to follow, so I went off to wander the club. Although I was coming here from time to time, I have never made any acquaintances. Usually I just stood around by myself guzzling beer. It was pointless to expect international stars here, and as for the local bands, I cared about them chiefly to the extent that they helped me while away another dull evening. I recalled how I once brought Catherine here, but she did not like it in the least. Himitsu in turn altogether refused to go to concerts for some reason. A young couple was cuddling in the corner. I watched them for a long time and suddenly felt revulsion. No, that won't do. I told myself, this night at least I was going to relax. I dashed to the bar, downed 3 shots of whiskey, picked up another beer and headed back into the crowd, this time at a far less steady gait. The old farts had finished playing and the stage was now occupied by some glam rockers turning their instruments. Come on, let's get rocking, I yelled. A guy standing near me glanced my way and said, "We're gonna rock alright, don't you worry." What are you, playing too or what? Sure thing. Then why aren't you on the stage? They're all busy tuning. I don't need any tuning. I'm always tuned. He adjusted his sunglasses. Why was he wearing them indoors? See you. With this, the guy disappeared into the dressing room. The lights dimmed and the speakers erupted with the first guitar chords. Hi everybody, we are CFLC. A familiar voice came over the microphone as bright lights beamed down from the rafters. Standing center stage in a rather unusual outfit was Ellie with a guitar in hand. Wait, that's Ellie up there? That's pretty cool. And not just standing, but singing and playing. Now this I was not ready for, I said out loud, but no one could hear me over the thundering music. Yesterday's episode in the old music classroom came right back to me. Had the money driven her bungers? I could understand a little strumming on the side, but this here? I listened more intently. They did play quite well. No wonder they've been asked to headline. The crowd clearly took well on the music too. Oh shit. As the first song ended, Ellie shouted thank you into the mic and surveyed the audience, lingering on for a second. Did she spot me? Judging by the surprise and even a tad of embarrassment painted on her face, she did. So what? Did she really expect that no one was going to find out about her nighttime metamorphosis from an exemplary student and a genteel lady into a queen of the Tokyo glam scene? I chuckled. Have you fallen for That's his voice now. Where did you come from? That weird kid who played the keyboard for said field set was standing next to me again. You were just up on the stage. Look, I had no such. We just go to the same school, and sort of know each other. Oh, his stuff. Okay, he speaks fucked up. His eyes flashed from behind his sunglasses. What kind of dumb name is that anyways? Said Phil. It's pronounced Phil. Phils. Like the anime hood, you know. I looked at him skeptically. It's friends. A trick. If the jam-packed club floor was any indication, said Fields did not lack for fans, at least not at this level. The crowd was getting lively in anticipation of the next song. An instant later, the guy I'd been talking to was back on the stage behind his instrument. They were playing some kind of ballad. Ellie kept shooting angry glances towards my direction. But of course, I came here just so I could distract her from my performance. Be that as it may, she did have a sweet voice and played well too. Maybe she had a gift, but even so, to get this far with all her other obligations and responsibilities as a scion of a respected family. Time is finite, after all. I had no obligations, no responsibilities, and yet all I had learned to play were 2 or 3 songs from taps. Okay. I suddenly felt a surge of respect for Ellie and backed away from the stage so as not to embarrass her further. I backed up against the wall where she could not see me.
She doesn't do us well with that, dear.
Anger and strength. What?
Ugh.
What the devil? You're playing right now, as in the very moment. This very
moment, this is whole.
This kid was starting to get to me, so I went back to stand near the stage. Why does he keep going down and talk to us? Fuck him, man. Seeing me, Elliot misshit the strings and a metal clanging sound roiled the speakers. Were her fans and servants going to lynch me now? But the girl quickly recovered and carried on playing as though nothing had happened. But once the song was ended and before the next one began, Ellie furtively shook her finger at me from the stage. Now that was just ridiculous. How was this my fault? Was she fixated or what? I made a point of not looking at her, training my attention on the other members of said fields. The bassist looked reasonably ordinary, almost to a fault. Considering the band style, I would have expected an edgier attire. Nevertheless, he was a much better player than me. How long would it have taken me to be able to play his parts as what? What did it say, bro? Okay, I can't see apparently. I couldn't make out the drummer's features behind his equipment, and unfortunately, I already met with the keyboardist. This turned out to be the last song. The audience was demanding an encore, but the band quickly disappeared off stage. Maybe they didn't have an extensive repertoire. And what was I going to do? On the one hand, I wanted to talk to Ellie and tell her that I liked her music. On the other hand, wouldn't that sound like a trite compliment? Besides, she was clearly not happy to see me at the concert. While I contemplated, the crowd began to disperse, and still said Fields had not emerged from the dressing room. They must have left through the back door. Oh well, I didn't have much to say to her anyway. Still, I was grateful to Ellie. Her music allowed me to escape my problems, if only briefly. The club was almost empty now, but I remained frozen in the middle of the dance floor, immersed in my own thoughts. Usually I left before the end of the concert, feeling uplifted instead of waiting for a bitter aftertaste of the fun's conclusion. That would also have been a good idea. Either it had gotten warmer outside, or the alcohol was warming me up. Somehow I made it to the house in no time at all. Another note from Himitsu was resting on the doorstep. Admittedly, this time she could have let herself in with a key, since I hadn't bolted the door from the inside. She could have made dinner and waited for me, as she had done the day before. However, the note made it clear that I couldn't even begin to count on it. Wait, what did she think? That I was just amusing myself? The note, the mysteries, the man shadowing me? Just because I couldn't tell her about all this stuff didn't mean I didn't want to. So I went to the concert. What a fit. A man had to enjoy some culture once in a while. Of course, none of this was Himitsu's fault. I was just weary of her incessant, misplaced worrying. Of late, I felt caged up when I was with her more and more often. As children grow, they gain independence, but in my case, Himitsu has essentially replaced my deceased parents, and little has actually changed in my life. But to take all this for granted? Did I really feel no gratitude towards her? Judging by the note, she was not just upset but also hurt. Perhaps I could at least call her? I didn't need to give any details, just tell her that everything was okay. I could, of course, stop by her place, but it was already late. I rigged up alcohol and the call would be sufficient for the occasion. I dialed the number familiar to me from childhood. Almost immediately, her voice came over the line. Hello, Nico? Just about what I had expected. Hi, sorry that I disappeared today. Silence on the other end. You're not going to believe me if I tell you I had things to do, are you? Did you? I sighed heavily. I am hurt that you are hiding something from me. Even if I am, there are good reasons for it. But I am not hiding anything. The inane laugh was meant to diffuse the situation. you know that I am always here for you if anything happens. Okay, I'll see you at school tomorrow. Good night. Good night. I hung up and paused to think. What if I told her everything? I highly doubted that Mitsu could help me in any way, but at least I wouldn't have to shoulder my problems alone. I was gazing at the phone and was just about to head to the bed when it rang. Himitsu again? Forgot to say something? Hi. I started out automatically. Seriously, who else was going to call me at that hour? Who else was going to call me, period?
Nikolai-kun.
However, I was wrong. The speaker was Ichinose-san. Ichinose-san, I am listening.
Nikolai-kun, I've considered for a long time after all, whether to call you. After all, I told you myself this morning to stay out of this business, but I owe much to your father. To your father, you see, and since he is no longer with us, the least I can do is repay the debt to his son.
I simply didn't know what to say.
Are you listening to me?
Yes, absolutely. I'm all ears.
I don't know all that much myself, nor did your father, I suspect, but there is a person. Write this down. No better, memorize it. The name is Akira Shinji. He used to work with your father and me, but he got laid off. He now owns a little restaurant somewhere in the waterfront.
Ichinose felt silent for a moment, but then continued hastily.
Nikolai, I don't know if you are in any danger, but please be careful.
Ichinose-san. Which waterfront exactly? Chakyo has many of them. That name is pretty common too.
I can't. I have to go. Take care of yourself.
He hung up. He was clearly afraid of something. Afraid, yes. Yet he called and warned me, and even gave me a clue. Though, Akira Shinji was like Ivan Ivanov or John Smith. For some reason, I felt no fear at that moment, more like wild excitement and boldness. Probably owing to the quantity of alcohol consumed earlier. Literally the moment I got off the call with Ichinose, I felt incredibly sleepy. I barely made it to my bed before falling asleep. The 10th of August, 19... No, that's not August. That's September, 10th of September, 1987. I woke up early, filled with a headache, the dry hours, and a terrible feeling of the meaningless of existence. Good thing I always had aspirin in the medkit, although it's the only thing there was in the first place. After washing the pill down with a couple of glasses of cold water, I figured that yesterday didn't really end too badly. At least today I didn't slog in the bed all the way to lunchtime. The memories started to return slowly. Vicious and dense, they were surfacing in my mind, bringing with themselves an extorting unease. I suddenly felt uncomfortable, alone in this giant empty house. I certainly needed to go to school. Or, at this rate, I could really get myself expelled. It wasn't about my attendance, of course. I just desperately wanted to be among people. I stepped out onto the street and chilly air immediately drew away the last remains of the hangover. I was still too early even for Himitsu. Oh well, we talked yesterday. Also, the early part seemed to only apply to me. Life in Tokyo was already in full swing. The clerks were on their way to work, clad in identical snow-white shirts. The grocery stores and all kinds of shops were opening now. The cheerful old women were drawingly striking conversations with each other. I was walking down the street enjoying life. Until that moment, I never even noticed that small things like this made the world a much more attractive place than I ever thought it could be. Could anything really go wrong? The fear for my own safety, even my own life, made me realize I wasn't ready to change anything yet. Just return to the USSR? No, that's foolish. That's the voice of the drunk juvenile radicalism. But what was I supposed to do then? Fight here and now? Or just go with the flow? After all, life as beautiful as this couldn't possibly be senselessly cruel at the same time, could it? The world turned its friendly smiling face to me and my stomach responded with a friendly rumble. And to think that the start of the morning, even a foot of food was making me want to puke. Oh shit, hungry hours. I entered a small restaurant and delightedly ate a bowl of ramen. All my worries faded away and hope glimmered in the distance. I was just getting all worked up while nothing scary was really going on. For a year and a half, I was living as if in an abysses. So now, every little thing seemed like a problem of galactic proportions. If something would have really happened to me, for example, if I had received a visit from the police in my house, I had surely got a heart attack. I just needed to calm down, wait it out, and all the troubles would solve themselves. And if not, I'd welcome them as they come up. When approaching the school, I was carried along by a crowd of students. I had spent a good half an hour. I had spent a good half an hour in the ramen shop, and it wasn't as early in the morning by then. Japanese, Americans, French, Russians. Sometimes it seems to me that my school was a bit too international. It was a good thing, though. I didn't feel as alien among them as, for instance, when sitting at the narrow counter on a low chair in a typical Japanese snack bar. Several guys shook my hand on this run. Some girl even flashed me a smile. I recalled being in the same class as the girl last year, but wouldn't be able to remember her name even if my life depended on it. I was close to saying I was happy, but... At the lockers, I ran into Catherine. Oh shit, bro. Oh shit, bro. What's happening? Hi. You're early today. She gave an unexpectedly polite response. Yeah, I skipped yesterday. I can't keep ditching school forever. Decided to get yourself together, really? Catherine looked at me wide-eyed, then frowned. Oh, I see. She had the smile on her lips again. I ignored it and said simply, yeah, you know, so much has happened lately. I may have been feeling fine, but couldn't hide my swollen face, especially from Catherine. Well, enough already. Why are you staring at me? You know it all. Emotions changed quickly on Catherine's face. The surprise gave place to indifference. She lost interest. Or maybe that too. I don't want to fight anyone anymore. I just think you have to understand my reaction. Put yourself in my shoes or something. What are you even talking about? Catherine asked imperturbably. Fuck! I suck. Fuck you. Suck you. Sorry, bro. About everything, don't pretend you don't understand. Don't understand. Don't understand what? Shit, I fucked her voice up earlier. I didn't even know how to talk to her anymore. Alright. You want me to understand you. I do now. Oh, here we go again. Is that your way of mocking me? Why would I be mocking you? That's her new voice. No. Well, that's a question I should be asking you. First, you come back without a reason. Then you transfer into my class and pretend like that's how it should be. Show at least a morsel of respect. Ooh, what should I respect you for? I couldn't hear Catherine. I have already forgotten to even think about yesterday's events and morning contemplations. Or just don't talk to me anymore. I'm tired of degrading myself before you, struggling to get at least some kind of humane treatment from you. It looked like she wasn't ready for this kind of reaction. So make up your mind. I turned around and ran up the stairs to the second floor.
Oh, hey, Nick. Where have you been?
Kyosuke was as carefree as always. Been drinking? I snarled.
I see you are not in the mood. Talk to you later, then.
He responded sadly. Catherine entered the class almost immediately after me. There were several minutes still left until the bang, and they dragged on tormentingly slowly. It'll be easier doing the lesson. It'll be easier, I was consoling myself. Meanwhile, Catherine wasn't paying any attention to me at all. No, this was crossing the line now. It stopped being a mockery and turned into just crooked behavior. Did she fall down, riding a bike in that USA of hers, into the Grand Canyon? The bell finally rang. During the lesson, I was only thinking about Catherine, a burning to the point of shudder's desire to turn around and look at her was swelling my chest. I couldn't manage to distract myself with anything. Yesterday's conversation with Ichinosa and the mysterious thread hanging over my head seemed to have suddenly lost any meaning. A single thought was pulsating in my head. To sort out my relationship with her once and for all. I'd be figuring out if I still love her or not later. And now I needed to what? Ah, god damn it, I can't do this anymore. With a loud thud, I hit the desk with my forehead.
Oh no, Ken. Are you alright?
I heard constrained laughs and whispers. Couldn't be better, Sensei, just checking if there's anything in my head. The teacher didn't even flinch an eyebrow. He's seen much working in the school.
Perhaps you should go to the doctor.
No, I'm telling you I'm fine.
Well, do as you will, just don't interfere with the lesson.
After this circus act, I felt a bit better. Strikingly, the planet kept spinning and paid no attention to my problems. The bell to the break rang. I was approached by Michael. It seemed like he wasn't going to start a conversation, but for some reason he just kept looking at me attentively top down. Well, what is it? I finally asked. You're not you today. Is it because of yesterday? Yesterday? How does he know? I mean, the conversation in the cafe. Oh, yeah, right, the cafe. No, it's not about that. Everything's fine, or will be, even if it isn't now. Without even turning her head, Katharina walked past us. I stared after her and must have made quite a face. I see. Mikhail said dispassionately. What do you see? I started to get worked up again. Are all of you Americans like this? Like what? Like this, completely disregarding of other people, poking your noses in others' business, senseless, cruel? I think you're talking about someone in particular right now. The gritting of my teeth must have been audible to the whole class. You know what, Misha? Fuck you. Got it? Fuck you. To hell. The last thing I need is your questions and observations. Don't meddle with the other people's life. Mind your own. I stood up, looked him up and down, but Michael didn't look aside. Then I pushed him away with my shoulder and left the class. Good God, what the hell was I doing? I just lashed out on one of the few people who still at least talked to me. Maybe he wanted to help. After all, Michael's no Kyosuke. The latter would immediately start to jump around, dolefully wringing his hands, and to what good would that make? Sometimes it really is better to take a cold-headed look at the situation from the side. I would definitely apologize before him, but later. At the moment, I just wanted to switch gears and get away from the class. To be alone, or at least with someone who wouldn't pry into my soul. With Emitsu, for example? Oh, yeah, right, she wouldn't. Although, if she were to see my present condition, Himitsu would probably understand. So, go to Himitsu or let's go to the roof, bro. I hope we can find someone funny up there. No, in the end, it would be foolish to think I'd be able to distract myself with talking nonsense with her when the desire to kill someone was written all over my face. But it turned out not to be alone on the roof either. Kagome was sitting on a bench. What a coincidence. Was this her office or what? I see. I snorted and decided to look for a different secluded place. Leaving so soon? She called out to me. I must be interfering, and I wanted to be alone. You aren't. However, do as you wish. Alright, but look out, you might regret it later. I shrugged, approached, and sat down beside her. Decided to hit your head against something in silence? And I immediately wanted to tell her to fuck off as well. No, was waiting for your appraisal. Will you be using a 10-point scale or a 6-point like in the figure skating? Do you like figure skating? No, goddammit, I just know. General irritation. Ever heard of such a thing? And then it dawned on me. I realized that she didn't care a bit about me, and that even made me glad. With everyone else, I had some kind of emotional connection. Stronger with some, weaker with others. Himitsu, Catherine, Kyosuke, Michael, even Ichinosa. And this girl was sitting next to me, not giving a damn. Which meant she didn't need anything from me. She wouldn't poke her nose in my business or give me stupid questions and lectures based on her own experience and mistakes alone. Although today Kagome was already acting braver than a couple of days ago. So what happened? You mean? You're an odd one. Sure, but haven't been hitting your head on desk before. Didn't I say I wanted to check if there are any brains inside? And what's the verdict? Regrettably, negative. That was to be expected. She smiled. Somehow automatically I did too. But Kagome immediately grew serious again. Seriously though, it's about this Catherine Winters, isn't it? Why'd you think that? I'd have to be blind not to notice. Even if so, what of it? It's not the most pleasant conversational topic for me right now. It's a little annoying that it says Kagome when Nikolai is speaking, and Nikolai when Kagome is speaking. Shit. Makes sense. She smirked. I just think it's one behind. You know what? I abruptly stood up and got ready to leave. Alright, sorry. Kagome said settingly. I'm just not very good at getting along with people either. What a strikingly unexpected frankness. But why either? Of course you wouldn't acting like that. How exactly am I acting? She frowned and turned to me. Like that, you know what I mean. No. Speak it out now. Oh God, I can't even go to school normally anymore. Why are you even coming here in the first place? Clearly not to study. And what about you? Enjoy being a punching bag that much? Bullseye, that hurt. Kagome bit on her lip. No wonder she ditched you. I shouldn't have told that. With you, the only options are to hang, to drown, or to poison yourself. Or jump off the roof? I made a pointed gesture towards the edge of the roof. You first, Anokin-san. No, please be my guest, Kagome-san. Now this started resembling a game where the winners was determined by whose patience would run out last. And I had no intention of losing. This roof was too small for the two of us. Oh, so we're that close already? Can be even closer, I don't mind. When the meaning of my words got through to Kagome, she blushed, jumped up, and quickly headed to the exit, dropping as she left the roof. Asshole! I think we just got a girlfriend. Wonderful, I won. I think we just got a girlfriend, boys. That's great news. I like that. And only the wind's quiet howls resembled ovations, and the rare, already yellow leaves reminded of laurel wreaths. I defeated everyone and was left completely alone. Makes sense. I was passing Himitsu's class and heard a familiar voice coming from there. It was Catherine. What's she doing there? I hid behind the door and listened carefully. Thank God for the thin walls of Japanese schools. It was also quite fortunate that Catherine occupied the desk closest to the door, even if it wasn't her class. That's the Catherine I knew. The students walking through the corridor were giving me weird looks. I didn't mind that it couldn't get any worse. Not what you think. I caught the end of that sentence.
No, I'm not. I'm just glad you're back.
Are you not?
Are you not? Are you not? Well, if you want to search for hidden implications in every word, I'll lead you to it.
That didn't really look like a conversation between old friends after a long separation. Could have expected that. No, actually, that was to be expected. Don't pretend nothing happens.
But nothing really happened, and hasn't been happening for the past year and a half. And even if you were pretending, we were good at it.
Himitsu wasn't talking very loudly, but suddenly went silent, gasping for air as if after a desperate cry.
Why now of all time?
If it had been up to me, I would have never returned here.
How convenient for you. You leave when you're most needed, and it's not your fault. You come back when you're not needed at all, and it's not your fault. And how are we to live now? Tell me.
I totally did not expect a reaction like this from Himitsu. Well, sure, I had known for a while that she was no longer the 8-year-old girl I met one day when I still didn't know a single Japanese word. In many ways, she was more of an adult than me. But to see someone close to you like that, I guess I just wasn't ready. And what should I do to do? Tell me. Why in the world should I just adjust myself to you, to him, to the two of you? For you, simplest, life is so simple.
Well, it sure is complicated for you. You couldn't even come and say hi, explain the situation adequately, and all because of your pride.
Pride, you say? Catherine smirked scornfully. More like self-respect. More like self-respect. You could use some yourself, acting like a...
Like a what? Come on, tell me. How am I acting? The way you couldn't.
It was weird that no one of Himitsu's classmates were paying attention to the two of them. This certainly didn't look like a friendly conversation. If only he knew the whole truth.
Then tell me.
I can't. Catherine said quietly, and so quietly, I almost couldn't hear her.
Oh, so that's how it is. And what do you think you should do next? You can't just ignore his feelings, can you?
And what about my feelings? Has anyone thought about them? Her feelings? What? But Catherine immediately continued. I can't stand being near him.
Then don't be. Free us from your presence. It'll be easier for everyone.
Don't worry, I will. There's less than a year of school left.
Yes, but for the whole year.
I'm sure you can endure it without breaking apart.
You're just...
Oh, senpai. One of Himitsu's classmates called out to me. I immediately broke into a run. Okay. Hope the girls didn't notice me. I ran back to my class, almost knocking down two students who were too slow to dodge me. I jumped behind my desk and tried to quickly catch my breath. By then, I had forgotten entirely about Michael. But what the ever-living hell was that? I could understand Himitsu worrying about me, about how Catherine's return might have affected me, but that tone, those words, and what about Catherine herself? I can't stand being near him. If only he knew the whole truth. Whatever happened between us, I didn't think I had deserved this treatment through my words or actions. You're right, Nicky. Yes, everything's fine. I pat her down. Kioske gave me a somehow sympathetic look and expressively glanced towards Michael, who was peacefully reading a book, paying no attention to his surroundings. Ah, yeah, you know, a lot's happened. I really wanted him to understand. Yeah, but still. And here, Kioske was right. I very slowly stood up and approached Michael. So, nothing worthwhile could come to my head. Sorry I act like that. It's just that I've been going through a difficult period recently. He closed the book and looked at me coldly. I understand. It's alright. No, I really didn't mean any harm. I just snapped. I'm telling you, I understand. Yeah, that was just like Michael. One thing in words and another in thoughts. Whatever, I certainly was in no mood to try to prove anything to him. The bell rang. The lesson had been going for 5 minutes already, but Catherine was yet to come back to the class. And to top it off, her things disappeared too. I couldn't tell for sure if they were there when I returned, I just didn't pay attention. Finally, the school day came to an end. I felt a pressing need to talk to Himitsu, even though I didn't really know what I would say. And what could I say? With everything that's happened today, I completely forgot about my yesterday's conversation with Ichinose, and he gave me a lead too. Himitsu, Catherine. But what about the note, the call? I had to find out what this was all about, right? It seemed like this decision could severely impact my life from now on. To go to Himitsu or to try to solve the mysteries of my father's past. Okay, so what happened between me and Catherine? We could look for that, or we could try to look for answers. There's a bigger chance of getting pussy here. That's a pro. And a con is, I don't get to know my secret from my father's past. That's a con. And a pro is, I get to know the secrets of Catherine. And the con is, I really want to fucking know my father's secret. And here the pros is, I get to know my father's secret. The cons is no pussy. The pros is, I really fucking want to see my father's secret. So I'm taking it. Ultimately, Himatsu wasn't about to disappear and I had more important things to do. I left the school and hesitantly stopped at the gates. How many waterfronts did Tokyo have exactly? I didn't even really know. I should have clarified this with Ichinose. Ichinose. Although it looked like he wasn't sure where to look for this Akira himself. Well, just wonderful. Go. I know not where, and fetch I know not what. And then the most dubious idea came to my head. I needed to call the information center. I quickly reached the nearest phone booth and dialed the number. Hello, good afternoon. I'm looking for a man called Akira Shinji. I know that he owns a restaurant somewhere on a waterfront. Plus what? A strident female voice sounded out of the receiver. It took at least 5 minutes and as many coins, but finally I got a response. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone with this name. So did Ichinose lie to me? No, that would be too stupid. Are you sure? However, in Tokyo there are 36 restaurant owners whose surname is Akira. What, did he mix up the name of a colleague he worked many years with? I definitely wasn't ready to believe that. Could you tell me how many of them are located on the waterfront or somewhere close? A sound of rustling papers came from the other end of the line. 5 restaurants. Could you please spell out the addresses? I quickly took a notebook with a pen from my school bag and wrote down the names of the streets and the numbers of the houses. All in all, it turned out they were located in different parts of the city. Fortunately or unfortunately, I had nothing else to do today. Okay, so okay, I want to know a little more. In 3 of the 5 restaurants, no one has ever heard of Akira Shinji. They could have lied to me, of course, but I had no way to check. Although for some reason it seemed to me that an ex-scientist wouldn't have the money to own a relatively upmarket restaurant with a fancy European cuisine. And that's exactly what all three places were like. I was jumbling in a subway car filled with people. The fourth restaurant was about half an hour away from the last. And that too turned out to be a failure. It was closed for sanitary disposal. The fifth one was located on a waterfront in Tokyo's suburbs. I left the station and was plunged into a completely different world. It'd been a long time since I got so far away from home. Here, the neat, modern brick buildings mostly gave place to 100-year-old wooden shacks. The scenery reminded of my grandmother's village, where I'd been a couple times as a kid. The houses were clinging to each other as if preparing to fight back a tsunami coming from the ocean. Judging by the looks, they had already managed before. With mixed results, I never managed to find a single sign with a street name or building number. I tried asking people in the street, "Excuse me," but that was a hopeless cause. Almost every second house was either a restaurant or shop. And Akira was too common of a surname. I was fruitlessly barging into one restaurant after another. Ramen, sushi, ramen, some kind of fish. Well, it figures after all, I was on a waterfront. The strong smell of the fresh and not so fresh fish was starting to make me feel nauseous. I bought a can of beer and sat down on the bench to get some air and rest. Far in the east, at the skyline, where the ocean met the sky, the first stars has already started to appear, while the mountains on the west were still ablaze with the rays of the sunset. The sight was spellbinding. Perhaps I didn't find Akira, but I certainly didn't come here for nothing. The beer was running out, and my soul begged to get another can. Halt! I seem to have been drinking too much alcohol lately. Sent by a precise throw, they can be departed to the nearest bin. Small Japanese women with giant bags in their hands and on their shoulders were running back and forth around me. Small Japanese men were boisterously pushing big fish-filled carts in front of them. Merry yells, ship honks, and the noise of the loading cranes were coming from the port. Languidly sprawled on the bench, I watched this human anthill. Watch hundreds of people carried by their everyday bothers walk past us. They paid no attention to me. It was so good to not have to run anywhere, to not have to live my life suffocated continuously by the stench of fish. No, I didn't feel superior or better than these simple workers. More like I was different, granted comprehension of the wisdom of existence. For a second, a familiar face flashed in the crowd. Or was that just my imagination? I needed some time to get back to reality from the world of dreams. No, that certainly was Kagome. I jumped up and headed after her. What the fuck is Kagome doing all the way out here? Okay, let's see. Moving forward in the thick flow of people wasn't easy. I was shoved. My feet were stepped on. I was angrily hissed at. Sometimes Kagome would appear several meters in front of me and then disappear behind the people's backs. Finally, I jumped out onto a relatively free part of the waterfront, but the girl had already vanished into the air. I'm gonna take some more water, bros. That was good shit, bro. But I was absolutely sure it wasn't just my imagination. It was Kagome whom I was chasing. Okay, let's get her. Go get her, boy. The night fully closed in. I was aimlessly wandering the waterfront, all my hope of finding Kagome gone. The streets grew empty. The fresh, salty air blew from the ocean. The temperature abruptly fell. It was time to get going back. I was about to turn toward the station, but the corner of my eye caught the sight of Kagome, big bags in her hand, appearing on a brightly lit entrance to a shop. "Hey!" I shouted, but she didn't hear me. It was too far, and the noise of the surf didn't help. "Hey!" I rushed toward her, but in literally a couple seconds, Kagome entered the building. The Gifts of the Seas restaurant. What an original name. The owner's name was written on a sign nearby. Akira Moyuki. Well, damn me. Was that really the place? I jerked the door handle, but it didn't give in. It appeared the restaurant was closed today. And what was I to do now? Knock? But whom would I find there? That very Akira? What if it's just a coincidence? And what would Kagome be doing here? Kagome. There were more questions than answers, and the answers lay on the other side of the door. I knocked. Several minutes passed, but nobody responded. The insides of the restaurant itself were dark, but the light blinked once on the second floor, the one with the living area. Which meant I was heard, unless, of course, it was inhabited by deaf people. I knocked again. Hey! A rough male voice responded a couple meters from me. I turned my head and saw a policeman who was quickly walking toward me.
What are you doing here?
What was I doing exactly? Standing knocking the door? It wasn't late enough for a lone school student to evoke suspicion from a guardian of the law, which meant someone had called the police. For example, this Akira Moriyuki or Kagome. My plans certainly couldn't make room for a trip to a police station, and I broke into a run in the direction of the station. I was in no danger of being shot at, and a full-bodied man of about 50 had no chance to catch up to the running me. Okay, good shit. We got away, bro. We got away. After reaching the station, I stopped to catch my breath. Well, damn. What the hell was that? I could guess that Akira, the owner of these Gifts of the Sea, was somehow connected to Akira Shinji. But what did Kagome had to do with it? But I was so tired, I only wanted to get home as fast as possible. I think it's a good thing we talked to Kagome. If not for Kagome, I think we would never have found the place. And we can go there next time, maybe. Another time. After taking the train, I immediately fell asleep, and only by some miracle I didn't miss my stop. There was a note under my door. I bent down, grasped it, and read.
Nico-kun, you've disappeared again. Do you not want to talk to me? I'm worrying, you know. What's going on with you lately? Call me Himitsu.
I let out a heavy sigh, opened the door with my key, stumbled into the hallway, and sprawled on the floor. I'm done. Enough adventures for today. I said into the nothingness and crawled to the living room without even taking my shoes off. The same images were surfacing over and over in my head. Kaguma's frowny face in the school, her silhouette vanishing into the crowd at the waterfront, her distant figure disappearing behind the door of the Gifts of the Sea restaurant. I couldn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. These tasks were beyond my understanding. Like in a trashy mystery novel, my life was ensnared by invisible threads weaving themselves together into a deadly web. A strange note and frightening phone calls, my quiet classmates being connected to my to my father's work. What's next? Was it about to turn out that Himitsu and Catherine were secret agents working for Japan and USA respectively? The fridge was empty, and there wasn't even a bowl of instant ramen in the cupboard. I fiddled Himitsu's note in my hands and reread it. Perhaps it would be better to call her. After all, she was worried about me. And it wasn't even about my hunger. Yeah, let's call. The tone of the note was written in seemed to be leaving me no choice. Exactly. That's what I thought. I took off the receiver and dialed the number, all the while feeling like a child waiting for his punishment for his strict parents. It took a while for the call to get answered.
Yes?
Hi.
Hello?
Himitsu's voice was cold, emotionless. I read your note here. Sorry I've been swamped lately. Lots of things to take care of. Connected to my parents. I didn't want to tell her the whole truth, but was also tired of lying. Or rather, I just didn't have the strength to think of something relatively comprehensible.
I didn't know you could have told me.
Himitsu said in an injured voice. I didn't want to upset you.
Do you think you aren't upsetting me acting like this? Did something happen? Your parents?
She didn't finish the sentence. No, nothing terrible happened. Just an old acquaintance showed up. Don't worry, it's not about debts or anything of the sort. Nothing bad will happen to me. I wanted to believe this myself.
we probably haven't eaten today, probably at all.
Himitsu asked, ignoring my words. I guess.
Alright, wait for me.
Oh, so she's coming to make food for me? The perfect waifu. But I'll get the rockstar. A couple minutes later, Himitsu was already in the kitchen preparing a dinner.
So, will you tell me about what happened?
Yeah, father just had some unfinished business with ex-colleagues, so I'm sorting them out. It's about his work, nothing unusual.
I see.
She drawled. It looked like she didn't believe me. But it didn't look like she was about to pry. Sorry for not calling yesterday.
Can't help it, I guess.
I'm not lying, just very tired. Himitsu put several plates and dishes on the table. Aren't you going to eat?
No, it's not good to eat a lot late in the evening.
But good for me?
Well, walking around starving it's not exactly great either.
She smiled for the first time this evening. I picked up the chopsticks and flung myself on the food.
Maybe you're not lying but you're clearly not telling the whole truth.
Huh? I was so focused on chewing, it seemed like someone turned off the sound in the rest of the world.
Something is happening to you, and it's not just about Ketty-chan, and it hurts that you're hiding something from me. But you can't just keep everything inside. If only you could share with someone.
I got no one to... I stopped short. This would be admitting that I didn't have anyone closer than her in my life. And perhaps that was true, but sometimes you want the truth, even if it's indeed the truth, to keep far away. You know, I tell you everything, and if I didn't, it means there's just nothing to tell. I supported the lies with the sweetest smile I was capable of.
I want to believe you,
Himitsu said sadly. And anyway, we got nothing but melancholy around here lately. That's not right. Let's go out somewhere.
It's nighttime.
Well, I didn't mean now. Tomorrow or on the weekend.
Alright.
She smiled and stood up.
I'll go now. Good night.
When the door closed behind her, I let out a sigh and nodded, one thing after another. After finished the dinner, I remembered the tiredness, and my whole body immediately seemed to be filled with lead. My eyes closed as if by themselves. Slumber brought me to the long-awaited relief. The 11th of September, 1989. And you know what, boys? I'm gonna leave this episode off now so it won't get as long as last time. Apparently there's still more, so we're gonna play more of this game the next time. And I hope you have liked watching this video, and I hope you would like to like and subscribe and leave a comment telling me about how much of a gay fucking faggot I am. And I'll see you all next time.